Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 30. Part 30 of What If Naruto Was Betrayed by Hagoromo. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was a direct descendant of the sage and enjoy that over on Anime King. And stay in tune for What If Naruto Had a New Dream That Will Change Everything over Anime King 2. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, yes, I have 3 channels guys. This is Anime King 3, Anime King 2, and Anime King will be down in the description for you guys to enjoy. What If's uploading daily for you guys to sit back and relax and enjoy guys. So yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, Mito was able to stop the strange puppets from taking away Hinata, as Sasuke arrived as Teneri came there as well, as the man told him that the world has failed, as Homura had said it once in his decree. If Hagoromo failed, and this pathway that he went down on, by betraying Naruto and left the world in that state for mankind to use chakra to their own will of pure destruction, then the world, well, it needed to change. The descendants of Homura that was left down to Tenere, as he decided it was time, meteors started to fall to the earth, as they were destroying parts of the earth already. He told Hinata with her help, he could create a new world, but he apologized as well as he vanished. Arriving back to the village, Hanabi was taken, as Mito knew one person who might know about this, saying that Teneri had a great hatred and dislike for her brother. So, they were given a clearance as they made their way, but they weren't allowed to pass the border. Mito was gonna fight her way in to see him no matter what, but Yujito didn't arrive. They were shocked to see her as they saw that she had went back to her village, but now they knew that, well, she was taken away by Naruto. Well, when it comes to personal overall view, she looked quite fine, so she was in a bad situation. She told them that Naruto wouldn't let them in, no matter what. She would deliver the message, but that's all she can do. Mito got angry as Kakashi saw the ninjas around them tensing, as he had to calm the situation and told Mito to retreat, as he wouldn't want to go out in a full-blown war, as they were heading back to the village. Yujito informed Naruto, as Naruto smiled here and that. She told him to be careful, as she seemed rather more than certain, concerned about his well-being, even though she had seen what he was capable of. It was strange, but he paid no mind as he headed off, telling her that he will be fine. Naruto arrived at the Hagoromo compound, as he did something to Hayashi. He was able to find where Teneri was, by using Hayashi, as Naruto smiled because of that, as he understands what Teneri wants now, the pure Byakugan, to achieve the Tenseigan. Hinata begged him, she didn't know what happened to him, but she dropped to her knees, as she begged him to save her little sister. As he looked at her, a part of him just wanted to leave, but seeing her grovel on the ground like that at his feet, he accepted and he told her that he would rescue her sister. Naruto went straight towards the moon as Teneri was already ready, as Naruto sent out a clone to go and get Hanabi. Teneri tried his best, the truth-seeking orbs, the beam, as he shot Naruto straight from the moon down to the earth, and unfortunately Naruto dropped right down in Kumo, obliterating a huge section with his body alone. He then flew off, not caring about the consequences. The Raikage was pissed, the man was angry, as he told his ninjas to get the weapons ready. Uzumaki will pay. As Naruto went back to the moon, as he was rather disappointed, the clone took Hanabi and coated himself and Hanabi in a silver glow before leaping back towards Earth. Teneri sliced the moon in half as he hit Naruto with the beam, as Naruto took it head on, shrugging it off as it barely left a scratch on him, and if it did, he started to heal. He then, decided to let his power flex a bit as he activated his eyes, as Naruto obliterated the moon. Using one attack, he created a wormhole that sucked and tore the moon apart. He obliterated all meteors that would have gone down to Earth as he put Tenir in his place. Tenir was beaten so badly his eyes started to blur as Naruto dropped him back down to Earth. As all of the power was knocked right out of him, as Naruto was disappointed as he told Tenir he was pathetic before snapping his neck. He created another clone and told the clone to bring Tenir back to Konoha to give the girl back her eyes and make sure that Snappy and the Hyuga know that they owe him. And when he comes to the village, he did not expect any hesitation. Naruto felt something as he turned, only to have his arm blown clean off as he tried to block it. Something then pierced through his stomach as he dropped down to his knees. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across to the place and check over this episode. This is the beginning of this new episode. Moment before Naruto ended Tenir's life. As they were all on the roof of the Hokage's tower, Jiraiya had made his way back. As all of them watched as the moon was obliterated, they thought this was the end of humanity. After all, the meteors would destroy the earth. But all of those meteors were shattered. Mito released a sigh of relief, glad that her brother didn't take it that far. But the other ninjas, all over the world, people, start to realize that they were surely outgunned and outpowered were the ones that knew who was doing all of this. And that was not the only place that it was affected. At the hidden rain, Nagato. He was looking through the eyes of his Tendo path at the moment. As the path looked straight up in the sky, the rain was pouring down. Nagato felt conflicted in his powers for once. As he just watched, he could feel it. It was the same power that Naruto possessed when he had entered the cave back then. The man had just obliterated the moon. The power even fluctuate down to earth. Was that even possible? As he started to doubt himself for once, calling himself a god when he's witnessing something like that. "Are you okay?" said the voice, as Konan landed right beside him. He said nothing as she also looked up in the sky as well, as she knew he must be considering things. But his gaze hardened. "Of course," he said. "Like many others, he will still fall at my hands." Konan didn't say anything because on the inside, she was afraid. Afraid for Nagato's arrogance. As she watched the moon be obliterated, Nagato couldn't do that. He had the power, but he couldn't do that. On Earth, he was basically a god with his Rinnegan and his path, but could he actually blow up the moon? The Sage of Six Paths was said to create the moon, but could Nagato wield that much power at his grasp? Did he really match up to the Sage when it comes to power? She really wondered. But this was the same power that they felt back in the cave. He was in space and yet the power was lingering down here. How was that even possible? Was he even a man? Or was he a god? Back at Konoha, as Naruto walked through the gates, his clone did, with Hanabi in his arm. As the girl was currently unconscious, the moment he did, he was surrounded by a squad of Anvu, all of them ready to strike as they looked at him. He glanced towards him with an uninterested eye. Before looking towards the tower, he blasted off the ground, blowing them all away. The group paused as Naruto landed right in front of them. Hinata saw her. Hanabi. Hinata rushed forward without hesitation, as Jiraiya was on his guard. But Naruto did not do anything. Jiraiya could not tell that this was a clone. It had so much chakra in it, it could be the real one. Well, he didn't know how far. He didn't know how much chakra Naruto possessed. Snappy and Mito looked at him, as Haku wasn't here. She was back at the compound with Sasuke, as the both of them were currently on the roof as well, watching the moon be destroyed. As Mito looked at him, she could tell though. "Where is he?" she asked. The clone simply glanced towards the moon. As Hinata looked down to her sister, her eyes, he took them. And with that, he simply poofed away, not giving anyone a chance to say anything. Snappy looked at the spot that he was. Before looking back up in the sky, she hadn't even muttered a single word. still reeling after just seeing that. How could someone even have the amount of power to destroy the moon? If he could do that, what was stopping him from destroying Earth when he really used his full power? As her hands started to tremble, what the hell was wrong with her? As she was the Hokage of this village, she should be confident in time of crisis. But yet, as the time passed by, it didn't look like they have any hope. If Naruto decided to come for Konoha to conquer like the rest of the world, and they were to try to stop him. After all, she didn't see any way they could. She glanced towards Mito. The girl has gotten strong, incredibly so. After all, she hasn't even used her full power yet in any of the missions she went on so far. Sasuke as well, and with those new eyes of his, but still. Can they even muster up this kind of power? As she was beginning to doubt herself and her shinobis. That wasn't really a good thing. They then saw something coming from the sky. Something bright as it crashed down in a far distance that they couldn't really see. That was Naruto landing with Tenere, as Naruto snapped the man's neck after talking to him, before handing his body over to a clone. The clone went back to Konoha, as the Tensegon had just went away. His eyes returning back to normal Byakugan, to be handed over back to the girl. A little minute before that happened, the Raikage didn't care anymore. He knew that the Tishikage would be, well, angry about this, but he did not care. Naruto has once again bested him, first by taking his arm, and taking his Jinchuriki, and taking his brother, and now by destroying his village and just leaving. The Raikage had no idea about the battle that was going on, and to see the moon just being blown to pieces, that was the last straw, as he had gathered up all the machines that he had. The Tishikage and him had came to an agreement that both of them had to sign off on this. But he was going straight to the Otsutsuki Empire to level the place to the ground. There was an army of them. He has gathered a large amount of his ninjas to help. He knew some of them would be cannon fodder just in case they didn't catch Naruto off guard. But just in case they did, well, he had to bring a lot of them, as he knew how powerful the boy was. Well, he thought he did. After all, the Sage of Six Paths warned you about someone. You should take that warning in consideration. So that is why he was bringing hundreds of his own men with him, as many were at the village, keeping the civilian populace steady and getting the village back into order, as he had left behind his number 2, Darui, to keep things perfectly steady. There was 25 operatives that were able to handle the machines. They had wheels on them, as they were able to drive. They had wheels on them after all. After all, they needed mobility to carry all of them. Currently, they had 25 of them, and the Raikage was bringing all of them to end this war once and for all. But imagine the Raikage's shock when he saw something coming from the sky, as it slammed down into the ground, creating a massive crater. As he looked towards his side, see, what is that? He said. See, one of his sensory type ninjas, probably the strongest one that he had, spread out his senses. The man stepped back in fear and surprise. Sir, it's him. The Raikage looked towards C. Wait, him? C nodded. The Raikage quickly turned towards his man. Set them up. Immediately, he said. As Naruto was standing there, after just snapping Tenere's neck, when he felt the energy, something that alarmed him a bit. The last time he felt something like this was with he turned, only to have his arm blown off as he tried to stop the attack. Several holes were blown into his stomach as he staggered back, blood leaking from his mouth and his wounds. Naruto's eyes, for once, looking quite surprised as he turned towards his attacker. In front of him, 25 strange machines, as they all were glowing at the tip before they fire. Quickly slammed his feet into the ground. The entire ground rooted up, creating a massive stone barrier in front of him. But the nature energy simply tore through all of them. The thing was fast, not giving Naruto enough time as it exploded. The energy rocked his body with so much force, he was blown back as he crashed into the ground. Again, said the Raikage, as the beams were launched again. Naruto raised his hand as a black wall rose up in front of him. All the beams came on the center and slammed. To his surprise, the wall started to crack. It took off some of the pressure off of nature energy, but the remaining force blew right into him as he staggered back once again. Again, the Raikage said. The machines were loading slower this time. Sir, this is our last shot before we have to wait until 10 minutes cooldown. The Raikage looked at them. It doesn't matter. It's already started. The beams were fired as Naruto summoned his staff. He tossed it right in the center. To his surprise, the staff was overpowered by the amount of nature energy force. It exploded as small nature blasts went everywhere, some of them ripping into his skin. As Naruto dropped down to the ground, holes riddling his body. His arms still teared clean off, blood dripping from the wound. He then saw shadows over him. He looked up from the crate that he was in to see the Raikage standing there, with at least 100 men behind him. Who the hell are you? Said Naruto. The Raikage snarled. Don't pretend like you don't know me, he said, as he clenched his arm. Well, the mechanical arm, as he glared at Naruto. And why the hell should I? Said Naruto. The Raikage sneered. I guess you weren't that important for me to remember you, said Naruto, as he slowly got up to his feet, as his body was reeking with pain. Tell me, whoever you are. I'm the Raikage, he said, as he glared at Naruto. Oh, that pathetic loser that attacked Konoha all those years ago. Didn't I put you in your place? Well, it doesn't matter. Did you really think that this was gonna kill me? Really? I guess you have no idea who or what am I, are you? I know that you're powerful. After all, if someone like the Sage of the Sixth Path told us, so watch out for you. Wait, what? How do you think we learn how to create these machines? To harness the nature energy to use. That is the only thing that can hurt you this badly, nature energy. Or perhaps, haven't you noticed your arm? As Naruto glanced towards his arm that was barely regrowing, nature energy is saturating your body, and it's time for you to die. The Raikage raised his hand as he lowered it. His soldiers moved forward, all of them with weapons, as they knew that he could absorb ninjutsu. It should be easy now he was weakened. Laughter could be heard. That stopped them as it surprised them. As Naruto lifted his head up, his eyes glowing wickedly. If you think this would be enough to stop me, I'm afraid you're sadly mistaken. You have just brought your village into my sight. I was gonna visit it sooner or later, but I think this is the perfect time for me to slaughter. He moved forward despite the pain. The Raikage was shocked. Why, isn't it working? As Naruto appeared in front of the first man, who swung his blade, only for Naruto to snap it with his bare hand and drive the blade right through the man's eye. He then spun as he kicked the head off of the other one behind him, as he brought his leg down and crushed the other one's skull. He reached forward and ripped his hand into one of the man's chests before using that same man's body and spin as he slammed it into several others. The Raikage looked towards his commanders for the machines. Still a few more minutes, sir. The Raikage gritted his teeth. Did the sage lie to him? Why, isn't it working, he thought to himself, as he saw Naruto brutally slaughtering his man. He even noticed Naruto's movements getting slower, but still his man didn't stand a chance. Most of them jumped back in fear as they went through hand sign. Lightning release! A large group of them shouted out, screeching swallow! As 10 lightning birds were created and fused into one that came rocketing down on Naruto. Naruto leaped right into it, his body cloak, his silver chakra flickering though, as he fell out of the air and crashed down. The bird slammed into him, tearing through the earth as it blew it apart. The Raikage smirked. When the dust cleared, Naruto was on his hands and knees, coughing up blood. What is this? You're just noticing. The Raikage says he stepped forward, flexing his robotic arm, as he looked down towards Naruto. Nature enjoys your weakness, but it's still not enough to put you down. That is why these machines were created specifically, with something in mind. A lethal dose of nature energy in a capsule that would enter your system as soon as it punched a hole right through you. Given that it take off your arm and several holes in your abdomen, it should be circulating through your body right now. I don't know what exactly you are, but nature itself despises you and wants to get rid of you. You can see that you're an abomination to mankind, to humankind everywhere. Someone, the Raikage body exploded with lightning as he moved, who should just die. He smashed his fist in Naruto's face. His fist bringing more punch than Naruto thought as Naruto was launched. His body smashed through several boulders, breaking through it. The Raikage wastes no time as he appeared behind Naruto and dropped his fist right in Naruto's skull. His body cracked into the earth as the Raikage spin and dropped his knee into Naruto's stomach before pounding his fist over and over in Naruto's face. He stopped focusing on the transformation over his arm that he allowed to make it look like a human arm, as you could see this clear metal running down the side. It was of a darker color, trying to match the skin tone of his own arm, but you could see that it was rather robotic. It had a strange cylinder on the back part of it that had a strange green energy inside. The man had found a way to capture nature energy into that arm and use it. That is why it was hurting Naruto so much, as he kept on beating Naruto's face over and over. Naruto's insides were being torn up. This was different from having his chakra reform when he was in pain. This was unbearable. The nature energy inside of him, because he was linked to the Jubi, his power similar to the beast after all. After years of twisting and turning into his own, the beast itself was a violent creature that nature was against. After all, that was the only thing that could actually fight it. Using the power of nature could hurt it even more than a normal attack. But right now that nature energy was inside his system, ripping his body apart, killing him from the inside as blood poured from his mouth. His head was slammed into the ground severely, over and over and over again. He charged his hand as the metallic started to creak with lightning as he drive it. The amount of nature energy pushing forward into his fingertips as he slammed it against Naruto's skin, his fingers tearing inside of Naruto's skin. But they wouldn't go any further. They could not literally tear through him like the beams, as it was not strong enough. He picked himself up, but not before kicking Naruto across the face, as he spat right down at Naruto, as it caught him right in the face. The Raikage turned back towards his man. How is it going? He knew that he could not kill Naruto with his bare hands. It was just seeming impossible for some reason. But as long as the machines could do it in the mind, as he would just sit back and watch him die. Tell me, how much longer? Just a minute, sir. The Raikage nodded as he heard laughing behind him. The man turned in complete surprise. Even in this situation, he would laugh. As he turned to see Naruto shaking to get to his feet, as his body started to twist and turn strangely. Wounds were splitting into his skin as blood was pouring out. The nature energy inside was ripping his body apart as he was emerging to the surface. As a large cut ripped into his chest as blood started to pour, he fell down to his knees as he panted heavily, looking down at the ground as he could feel his visions blurring. The Raikage looked at him. He didn't care how powerful Naruto was, or what he could do with him, because as long as he had this machine, as long as they have this at their disposal, the entire elemental nation would be done for. As he smirked to himself, the Tishikage should be on his way right now. After all, the messenger hawk was the fastest one they have. Well, he wouldn't be here to see Naruto die. And do enlighten me. What is so funny? You, said Naruto, as he managed to get to his knees. The Raikage turned back towards him. You think this will end in your favor? Look at you. Your arm is regrowing but at a slow pace. Those holes in you haven't even closed up yet and more are opening up. You're losing so much blood. I don't know exactly what you are or where did you came from. I just know that you're something that needs to go. After all, the god of Shinobi said to himself, You mean my brother? What? Oh yeah. The sage of the sixth path, as you call him, Hagoromo was my brother. It seems like in different ways he has found a way to screw me all over again. By teaching you guys and showing you how to harness the energy. Well, it seems like you yourself can't kill me. You're just not strong enough, said Naruto as he slowly got up to his shaking legs. BAM! The right Kage fist smashed into his nose, driving his body down to the ground. It doesn't matter, the right Kage says, he smashed his feet in Naruto's face, because he won't be leaving here alive. As he stepped back, he walked up towards his man, ready the machine. As Naruto looked up in the sky, who the hell did these people think they were? They think that will be that. They think they could bring him down. He was a god. They were nothing but pathetic, worthless humans. He exploded out of the earth with a new rage. Despite his body aching and falling over, he shot forward. It wasn't as fast as he wanted to be, but it was the best he could do at the moment. Stop him, the right guy said, as he had went towards one of the men in the machine. And it was almost ready. His man, even though they saw what happened earlier, they had to obey the Raikage orders as they moved forward. With only one hand and a wounded, torn body that was fighting itself inside. Against all of Kumo elite shinobis, after all, the Raikage brought the elites of the elites with him. The Raikage was astonished by his strength. Despite Naruto being his enemy, he was able to completely overpower his man. Even with the state that he was in, the Raikage turned towards the commander of the machine. Sir, we're ready. Alright, aim, the man said. Sir, what about... Just do it! As the energy started to gather, as Naruto heard it, several of the ninjas latched onto him. Naruto ripped their arms off and tore their skull in. But seeing that he didn't have another arm over to his side that was regenerating, they were able to latch onto that side. Chains wrapped around his midsection and pulled him down as he tore it off with his arm. He yanked on the chain and grabbed the guy by his face and smashed his head down. A Kunoichi came with that sword as he grabbed it. He pierced it through her chin, bursting through her skull. As he tossed her body to the side, several more chains slammed into him, wrapping him around. Jutsus after jutsu slammed into his body, knocking him down, further speeding up the nature engine inside the system. Do it now, Raikage-sama! One of the Kunoichi shouted, as Naruto yanked the chain with his teeth, seeing that his arm was down. She was pulled towards him and he smashed his skull into her skull, shattering her skull as she dropped down. A huge pike pierced through his stomach, as the ninja yanked him down, a large man that slammed his fist into Naruto's joints in his arm, trying to break it. But Naruto overpowered him and grabbed the man by his throat and ripped. The man was pulled down by the force, his neck was torn out. Naruto ripped his eyes out of his sockets and tossed his body. Several other jutsu slammed into him as he burst through them. As he kept on attacking the new fury, the ninjas dogpiled on him. Now, sir, they shouted, they would gladly die for their nation. The Raikage looked at his man. Aim! Fire, he said. The beams of energy shoot forward at tremendous speed, ripping through the air as Naruto saw them coming, as they were so tightly packed together, as his eyes started to glow before, boom! The energy slammed into the pile, incinerating the Raikage's man as well. This time there was no blockage that Naruto placed up, and it was like he could teleport out of there. After all, his energy, his power was all messed up because of the nature energy fighting his chakra in his body. That is why he was unable to use abilities, just brute strength. The Raikage watched as most of his men were slaughtered in a blast, but it was a sacrifice that they need to make sure that this pariah was gone. A few minutes earlier, as Navi was thinking about the upcoming events, about what to do when everything is said and done, as she didn't know what Naruto's intentions were for Konoha. She knew that he planned to take over everything, but what exactly was his intentions for Konoha? As he hadn't said anything about that, he refused to meet Mito and Hakuge's when they met, showing that he still cared about them despite everything. She sighed as she had sent them home, dismissed them. She forbade them from going out there, especially Mito, from doing anything rash and stupid. As she sighed, the moon was gone just like that. One boy just wiping the moon away. Suddenly, Something flashed into her office as he once again stood there. As she realized he could just step into Konoha anytime he wished. And they couldn't really stop him at the gates. He was instantly surrounded by envoys. He had something in his arm. Here are the eyes, he said as he tossed the body. As Snavi was intercepted by one of the envoys who caught it. Just in case. As Naruto looked at them, she realized this must be another clone. Wait, she said. She looked at the envoys and gave them a signal. As they looked at her, hesitating for a bit, she gave them another signal. As they nodded, before they vanished out of the room. They didn't trust her to be alone with him, but she wanted to talk to him alone. As Talon, the commander placed on the body, before not going too far off as he just sank back into the shadows. What do you want? He said. You're a clone, said Snappy. Yes. Is that all? Because I have something to tell you, he said, as he almost forgot. He did this favor for you. Make sure when he comes to Konoha, there is no hesitation. What? She said, looking at him. So you really think that I'm just gonna hand over Konoha to you? Well, it's not like you have a choice. Because if you don't, well, Konoha might not left standing. You wouldn't do that. He turned towards her fully. As he walked forward, the envoys in the corner twitching to move. And what makes you so sure? He asked her. Because Mito is here. Haku is here as well. People you care about. I care for no one, the clone said. Why should I? I'm a god. And they're mere humans. You have Yujito. They told me that she was in good condition. You took her. Why? If you don't care for humans, why do you have her? Why is she in such good condition? Remember what I said. As he started to walk away, before he paused, the clone then looked through the window. What is this? What's going on? She said as she looked at him. He's dying. He vanished. That was all the clone said before he poofed away. Snappy eyes widened at that. What the hell? She had refrained from sending any of her envoys out there when she saw the thing that came from the sky. Knowing that it was Naruto, she didn't want, well, him to go on a rampage and slaughter them. But that question threw her for a loop. She quickly called Talon. I want you to gather a team of 4 and scout through the area and tell me what you find immediately. The man nodded before he vanished. Snapping aside, she turned towards the body that was on the ground. As she made her way over towards it, as she saw the man's neck, it was brutally snapped with just blunt force. Back toward the scene, Raikage waited as he hoped this was over. Naruto could not use any power or teleport out of there if he could use such high speed abilities to flash away. The nature engine had riddled his body to the point where his abilities were all messed up. The only thing he could use was beer force, and yet he was able to bring down so much of his man. The Raikage saw what kind of monster Naruto Uzumaki was. He had to be taken down. He would have to tell the Tishikage that, to make sure the man didn't start anything that was unnecessary. After all, the machines were split between them, he had some as well. He knew he was taking a big risk coming out here, but it seems that Kami herself had dropped a gift into his lap by landing Naruto right in front of him. If he didn't get that surprise attack, this would have all been for nothing, because if Naruto had seen them first and attacked them first, he knew that all of them would have been dead. He looked towards his arm. Despite the modifications, he still couldn't defeat him on his own. The boy simply laughed after he finished beating in his face. Just what kind of monster was he? He was right, because there was nothing remaining. Many of his soldiers died, but at least not for nothing. As he was gone, everything was gone. The only thing that was left was a mighty crater that went deep down. See, move forward. As he was not really a fighting type, mostly genjutsu and sensory. Sir, I don't sense anything. See looked around, there was nothing here. He himself knew that if nature engine had entered into the system, from what the Raikage told him, he shouldn't be able to use any abilities. But C had sensed something. Just before the attack hit, It felt like Naruto chakra, but at the same moment, it didn't feel like his chakra. But then it vanished. He figured that it was just a fluke of Naruto trying to escape but failing. And now that he didn't sense anything for a long mile radius, he could tell that he was gone. He was dead. The Raikage looked around. Out of the 100 men that he brought, different from the mechanics that work on the machine, there was only 4 of them remaining. In his weakened state, he was able to slaughter 96 men. Well, not counting him and C in the fray. But still, 96. In that state alone. These men were the elites of Kumo. Different special training after all. Kumo has been trained their ninja just in case for another war. To bulk up their reserves. The Raikage hadn't even bring this group of 100 to Konoha because he thought, with the sand, with the sound, they will be able to conquer Konoha. But yet this one boy had humiliated him. This one boy had defeated him. He had beaten him so badly. And B, they couldn't even go forward for the attack. None of the Kumo ninja that passed. All of them were slaughtered by this boy. But at least he was finally dead. Quickly, return back to the village, Raikage said, as he didn't want any nature known about these machines just yet. As he scanned the air one last time before leaving. The news will be kept to them for now, until they were ready for the world to know that they were the ones that brought down the great Naruto Asusuke, as he called himself. So with that, they headed back to the village. After all, they had comrades to mourn, who risked their life to bring him down. Who looked above the prejudice of their own life, for the safety and humility of the nation, for the entire world it seems. Time skip. The Anfus arrive at the scene. Nothing but chaos and destruction. Pure destruction. They had to report what they find, which was really nothing, but a great battle has happened here. A great battle indeed. Meanwhile at Kumo, the Tishikage had calmed down, as the Raikage told him about the good news. So, everything went according to plan. You know this could have easily backfired, and gotten you, and all of them, and the machines destroyed, and you killed, right? Yes, but we need to make a move. The boy was starting something, I told you. He literally crashed into the village and simply walked away, like it was nothing. The Tishikage sighed. Fine, but you should spread the news in a week. The Raikage looked at him. Let the world realize that he's not here. Let his village realize that he's gone. And his sister as well. Of course they knew about Mito Uzumaki. And then, when a week has passed and everyone is wondering, you release the news that the both of us has taken him down. To make the rest of the nations cower in fear. To make them understand that we're coming. The Raikage smirked at that. Time skip. Not now, said Yujito. As she looked at Hiwaya. They were in a relationship with Naruto, the 3 of them. And they did it occasionally, sometimes. So, sometimes Hiwaya liked to have a bit of fun. And Yujito, back then, just test no things. She found herself liking it. Not like how she liked guys, but, well, liking girls is a different matter altogether. But she didn't hate it. But not tonight. You're worried. Come on. We're talking about Naruto here. Do you really think that anyone out there can defeat him? I bet he's just somewhere doing something else. You know who he is. He barely informed any of us where he's going most of the time, said Hiwaya. As Yujito sighed, she didn't know why, but she had a sinking feeling in her gut that something was really wrong. You know she's right, said Gordon as she came out of the bathroom, as she had a toothbrush in her mouth. He's a god. Do you really believe anyone can touch him? I guess you're right, said Yujito. Then come on then, said Hiwaya, as she pushed the girl on the bed. What's wrong with you? Are you in heat or something? And what if I am, said Hiwaya. Yujito sighed. Hiwaya made it worse by touching her. As she smiled when she saw Yujito, well, leaning into her touch. Everything was going normal, until they realized that a day passed and he didn't come back. The 3 of them started to wonder. Something was off now. All of the maids in the house noticed as well, as their lord wasn't here. The main people of the village hardly see him that much, so they wouldn't question things. But he wasn't here. Snavi hadn't told Mito about what she heard. She just told Jiraiya, as she didn't want Mito to go and do something stupid. Jiraiya was the one she told. She didn't want anyone else doing something stupid before she figured out what the hell was going on. And what did the clone mean by that? She received the report that nothing was there, and of vast destruction. She believed that Naruto was the one that destroyed the place. Hanabi had gotten her eyes back. They had gone through the transplant rather easily. As it seems like Tenere, despite his, well, bad act of taking her eyes, he did it in a way to not cause her later on effect, which was good for Snavi. 3 days passed and nothing. The world was quiet. It was like something was wrong. At the moment, Mito was currently sitting down in the kitchen with Haku. The both of them talking about him. The both of them feeling something off from the day he fought Tenere. They didn't know why, but something was just wrong. I don't know why, said Mito. But this feeling, I just feel like he's in trouble. Yeah, me too, Haku said. The both of them are feeling strange at the same time. That was rather rare. So that is why they didn't understand why they were feeling this way. Despite that though, we're talking about Naruto. Despite everything, he's still one of the strongest person I know. We both know he's fine, right? Haku lowered her head. Yeah, right. As she wasn't so certain. Come on, Haku, you're scaring me, said Mito. Please, we can't think this way. Hanabi received her eyes back. That meant Snavi got near his body from the clone. Although I wish I could have seen him. That meant he came back with a clone. So he's fine, right? Then why are you feeling this way as well? I'm not the only one, right? Mito lowered her head. Yeah, but he's fine. She said she got to her feet. You'll see. After all, he's not one to give up so easily. Despite all the hardship we have to go through to get him back, we will get him back. I'll promise you that, no matter what. Because I'll never give up, said Mito. Haku smiled at that, making Mito smile back. Standing outside on the roof, Sasuke was glancing up at the stars. As he's been thinking about a lot of things recently, one of the main subjects was his brother. That envy and hate that he used to feel towards his brother. He barely felt anymore when he was here with Mito and Haku. It was like they were his new family now. But there was another feeling that he was feeling, like something bad had happened without him knowing. As he had heard them talking about Naruto and the bad feeling that they were having at the moment. And strangely enough, he was having that bad feeling as well, like something bad happened that he didn't know. But knowing Naruto, there was no one that can take him down. With the amount of power that he had, Sasuke didn't see anyone that can take him down so far. He has gotten stronger, he wouldn't deny that, but could he really beat Naruto in a fight on his own? Well, he wasn't on his own. He had friends. As he smiled about that, yes, he indeed had friends. Time skip. Are you crazy? I just need to find out what the hell is going on, okay? Yujito, you can't go there. They're not gonna do anything. They know I'm under his protection. And it's not like they would risk start on anything with the Yasusuke Empire. I'll be back quick. Guren, talk some sense into her, please, said Teiwaya. I think it's a good idea. What? Look, we haven't seen him in the past couple of days. Despite everything, he always came back. Our scouts had picked up nothing. Something is wrong. If somehow he's at Konoha or Mito know where he is, we have to make her at least try. Guren looked at Teiwaya, who sighed. I still think it's a bad idea, but fine. But if they try anything, I will set the entire empire on them. Yeah, just keep your cool. They won't do anything stupid, I promise. Just be safe, said Teiwaya, knowing that the Leaf might try something to just take her, to make Naruto calm down. Well, they wouldn't do that. After all, they knew that Naruto would become their enemy after that. and they wouldn't want to risk a war with them, right? But why haven't they seen him for a couple of days now? Yujito set off to Konoha as she intended to find out what the hell was going on. It has been a week and they had heard nothing from him. Nothing at all. As she made her way to Konoha, getting there rather quickly, passing through Land of Grass. Meanwhile, Jiraiya was far, out in the Hidden Stone area, where he just received some news from an informant of his. News that was spreading like wildfire in the Hidden Stone. It was just breaking out to the rest of the nations. Naruto Uzumaki is dead, killed by the Hidden Stone and Kumo. Jiraiya didn't believe it. But a week has passed and there had been no sighting of him. Nothing. Nothing to show that he was alive, despite, well, if he wasn't locked up in that castle of his. Jiraiya received the news from a reliable source. He will have to go back to Konoha to tell Tsunade about this, because it was spreading like wildfire. Soon enough, the entire elemental nation would be hearing about this. So with that, he headed back to Konoha. Meanwhile, the moment Yujito came near Konoha, she was surrounded by envoys. She allowed herself to be taken and she wanted to speak to the Hokage. Which, envoy went back to the Hokage to inform her. The envoys were given the go-ahead to bring her here, which they did. So now, she sit down in the office, waiting. Mito, Sasuke, and Haku came inside. As Tsunade looked at all of them. Yujito? Said Haku. What are you doing here? Said Mito, surprised to see her. What's going on? Asked Sasuke. It's Naruto, said Yujito, as she got up. The envoys in the corner twitched a bit. She said that he's missing. Missing? Are you sure my brother is not just off somewhere? Asked Mito. It has been a week, and the past 3 years he never was gone for that long. Mito held on to her stomach as she glanced towards Haku. That dreading feeling that she was feeling was returning in full force. Tsunade caught the look. What's going on? She said. As Mito looked down, she's been having a bad feeling. Me as well, said Haku. That something is wrong. Sasuke glanced towards him, something like what he asked. Do you mean something to do with Naruto? Asked Yujito. Yeah, said Mito. Tsunade figured she should tell them about what the clone said before, well, he vanished. Look, before she could say anything though, something appeared in the windowsill as Sasuke turned his eyes. Jiraiya, what's going on? Asked Tsunade. Jiraiya looked at all of them, surprised when he saw Yujito here as well. But he saw that everything was stable, so he didn't, well, argue about it. I have some news, he said. Hey, Purvis Sage, what's up with the solemn look on your face? Said Mito, as she didn't like how he was looking at her, especially as Haku saw it as well. Look, Mito, there has been news going around that your brother has been killed by the Hidden Stone and Kumo. Mito blinked as she looked at him, hoping that she was hearing things and that he said something completely different, because that couldn't be possible. You're not funny or singing, she said, but the man was dead serious. What? She says she looked at him. Jiraiya was confused by the statement. What did you came here for? What was your report? I just... Stop lying, she said. She wasn't believing that one bit. That was impossible. Her brother couldn't be killed. Mito, I'm not... Stop with your nonsense, she said. That didn't make any sense. I was gonna save him and bring him back. He wouldn't have destroyed Konoha. He would have listened to me and he would have understand. So, stop with your nonsense, she said. Jiraiya sighed. Why are you all being so quiet? Come on, tell him that he's lying. Yujito looked at Jiraiya. Is this a credible source? She asked. I'm afraid it is. Tsunade noticed as Yujito's hand moved towards her stomach slightly as she narrowed her eyes at that, but that wasn't important right now. Sasuke couldn't believe it. Haku on the other hand, her face was blank, trying her best to conceal her emotions, because right now she didn't want to be here. I don't know why you guys are listening to this, because there is no way, said Mito as she moved towards the door. Mito, Haku, you yourself know how powerful he is, all of you do, so this is just nonsense. as she quickly left the room. As all of them looked towards Jiraiya, he lowered his head. I'm guessing that you're here because you haven't seen him in some time now, he said as he looked at Yujito. She nodded. Well, this news is spreading like wildfire. In a day or two, it's gonna be heard all over the Elemental Nation. As Yujito couldn't believe what she was hearing. Was he truly gone? No. She was in denial just like Mito. But why? Wouldn't he be back? It has been a week, and he still wasn't here. But how could he be killed? Was that even possible for someone like him? She had to raise her head, so that the tears wouldn't fall from her eyes. Thank you for talking to me, Hokage-sama. Snavi nodded, as Yujito quickly left after that. She wasn't from this village anyway, so it's not like they could keep her here. As Haku left the room as well, her mind reeling. Sasuke left shortly after, leaving the two inside, to ponder about, well, who in the world could kill Naruto? And if the Hidden Stone and Kumo had the manpower or the ability to do so, what would they use that for next? Probably the Elemental Nation take over it. But the real question was, where was Naruto Osusuke? And was he really dead? But guys, if you ain't subscribed right here, for what's next one, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications to be posted. But I'm over now, see you guys soon. Peace.